Welcome viewers, I welcome you all to this session of Automobile Maintenance Management. This is Mr. Shamanto. Today we are going to discuss about the aspect of preventive maintenance in automobile. Now, a preventive maintenance program should allow a vehicle owner to perform the least amount of repair maintenance while performing the routine maintenance, which is necessary. Often, if problems are caught and repaired early, it can save equipment owner considerable funds. If problems are ignored, the vehicle can become unsafe to operate, jeopardizing the lives of others who are sharing the road with their unfit vehicles. As well, making repairs on the road can be extremely costly to the owner. Now let's discuss the necessity of maintenance. A well-planned preventive maintenance program offers some very attractive benefits to the vehicle owners. These are the list of some of the advantages that a good program has to offer, which are the lowest possible maintenance cost, maximum vehicle availability, reduce roadside failure resulting in better customer dependability, a reduction in possible accident that can be caused by an unsafe vehicle. It also increased customer confidence, which results in better public relations. And last but not the least, fewer drivability complaints from driver. Now first, let us understand the type of maintenance. Generally, the type of maintenance we can classify into two groups: planned maintenance and unplanned maintenance. Now, under the planned maintenance, we can say it can be classified into four groups: proactive, preventive, predictive, and corrective maintenance. But for simplicity's sake, we are dividing the planned maintenance into two groups, which are scheduled maintenance or predictive maintenance, and the second one under planned maintenance, which is preventive maintenance. And under the unplanned maintenance, there is breakdown maintenance. So, we are discussing about the three maintenance, which is first is scheduled maintenance, second, which is the most important maintenance, which is preventive maintenance, and the third one is your breakdown maintenance. Now let's see what is the difference between the scheduled maintenance and the preventive maintenance. In many cases, repair work will be undertaken after a set of period of time, with core parts replaced in order to prevent wear and tear. The core feature that sets this work apart is the element of timing. Inspection and maintenance work are carried out according to a predetermined calendar to avoid issue from arising in the first place. But in case of preventive maintenance, it is carried out based on expert analysis of each and every part. Rather than simply conducting inspection of every maintenance issue at one time, this approach allows each part to be inspected separately and have a maintenance plan drawn up accordingly. Now, we can see the key difference in these two cases is the level of skill which is required in the preventive maintenance. So, in case of preventive maintenance, much greater level of skill on the part of inspectors is required, who can forecast the maintenance issue ahead of time and develop a suitable plan to address the problem. Schedule maintenance doesn't require forecasting as long as the interval between maintenance won't be that long. Next, let's discuss the difference between the preventive maintenance and breakdown maintenance. Preventive maintenance is the work that is scheduled based on expert analysis and calendar time. Also, sometimes asset run out and some other factors is also associated. But in case of breakdown maintenance, it is the work that is only performed when a piece of equipment breaks, specifically says breaks down or had a downtime event. So, in case of any component in an automobile or any automobile parts breaks down or having a downtime event, that maintenance we call a breakdown maintenance. If we discuss in detail the difference between the preventive maintenance and breakdown maintenance, we can see the trigger which allows us to know when to do preventive maintenance and when to do breakdown maintenance. We can see in case of preventive maintenance, the time and the inspection is the trigger for preventive maintenance. That means when we come to know that we require preventive maintenance, one is expert analysis or inspection results, and second one is time. So from here we can say that the schedule maintenance is a part of preventive maintenance. But in case of breakdown maintenance, the trigger is the downtime event. That means when any component breaks down or there is any downtime event for that component in an automobile, that time we require breakdown maintenance. Next factor is the one-time cost. Now here is the very interesting part. One-time cost for preventive maintenance is low, but for breakdown maintenance it is very high. But if we see the overall cost, that means the total preventive maintenance for an automobile, if we need to do, the total cost of each and every part of this preventive maintenance in an automobile, that would be high compared to the breakdown maintenance. So from here someone can say that breakdown maintenance cost is low. No, because in case of breakdown maintenance, some non-critical parts, if it's breakdown, then we can maintain it. But if some critical part damaged or breaks down, then the cost of that critical part which needs to be replaced will be very high. So make sure that always do preventive maintenance which extend the lifetime of your vehicle. So as we can see, the advantage of preventive maintenance which extends the lifetime of our vehicle and the parts of the vehicle. But in case of breakdown maintenance, the advantage is lower cost for non-critical parts only. But the disadvantage for preventive maintenance is that it can be expensive for a long period of time, and a skilled technician is required for that preventive maintenance. In case of breakdown maintenance, the disadvantage is the equipment can't be used repeatedly, and especially the safety equipment and critical parts is the main concern for the breakdown maintenance. Now let's discuss the impact of PM. In short, we call preventive maintenance PM. Now in this graph, on the x-axis there is time, and on the y-axis there is equipment condition. Here we are drawing graph between the equipment condition versus time, and we are going to see what will happen if we don't do any maintenance, if we do breakdown maintenance only, if we do annual overhaul only, and if we do the program maintenance. What would be the effect or impact on our automobile? So here we can see in the horizontal line that inside the graph, which indicates economic limit on equipment condition. This line represents the limit of any parts of our automobile. Now see, at year X, when we are not doing any kind of maintenance, no annual overhaul maintenance, no annual maintenance, and no preventive maintenance, then our vehicle will break down at year X, which is lesser than year Y and year Z. So we can see clearly when our vehicle is at new condition and at the point of year X, when time is increasing day by day, year by year, the condition of our equipment is degrading because we are not doing any maintenance. So automatically, after a certain interval of time at year X, our vehicle will break down. So at that time we can do breakdown maintenance. But suppose say we are not doing any preventive maintenance, but we are doing only scheduled maintenance, that is annual overhaul. Here we are denoting it by annual overhaul only. So we are doing only scheduled maintenance. So we can see the graph for annual overhaul only or scheduled maintenance. We can see we are doing maintenance which actually increasing the equipment condition after certain interval of time, then due to time it is degrading, and by doing this annual overhaul or scheduled maintenance we can increase the service life of our vehicle. And we can see at the point of year Y, which is more than year X, our vehicle condition will drop or it will break down. So if we do only annual overhaul or scheduled maintenance, our vehicle will break down or it will become out of service at year Y. which is less than year Z. So if we do preventive maintenance, we can see by doing preventive maintenance, we can increase the equipment condition after certain interval of time periodically, and also we can increase the service life of the vehicle, which is actually double than the year X. So we can see from this graph that by doing preventive maintenance, we can actually increase the service life of our vehicle, which is actually double than the breakdown maintenance. So from this graph, I think all of you understand the impact of preventive maintenance over breakdown maintenance and schedule maintenance or annual overall maintenance. Next, let's discuss some key factors in preventive maintenance. There are many factors that must all work together for PM program to be completely successful. Careful planning is the key to the success of any program, and this is the job of the maintenance manager. The technician are the hinging factor to success. Unless technician performs the inspection properly and as scheduled and accurate record are kept, the manager cannot adjust the program for maximum efficiency. Even though careful planning is important, that alone is not enough. Unless the maintenance manager and the technician implements a pre-planned PM program through a closely controlled schedule of the vehicles for inspection and maintenance. Communication between the driver and technician is extremely important as well, because the purpose of both the driver's daily inspection and the technician's PM inspection is to detect the failure before they become breakdown. Their importance to a preventive maintenance program is very obvious. A driver's responsibility is to perform daily pre and post trip inspection. These inspections are largely determined by law with a focus on safety. The inspection performed by maintenance personnel are managed in-house and are performed at specific intervals determined by maintenance manager. Today, many maintenance programs are used special computer software to schedule and log maintenance inspection. Let's discuss the responsibility of the technician. The responsibility of the technicians goes beyond the inspection of the vehicle, because they are also required to service and perform repairs to the vehicle. Servicing includes cleaning and lubricating as well as adjusting the tightening of components. Repairs are performed in response to any problem noted by the vehicle operator or found during the technician's inspection. The instructions on a PM from the inspection on a PM form can be very general, and the technician must know what is involved at each stage of the procedures. For example, PM specifies to check the cooling system. The technician should know that the system should be pressure tested to 15 psi and the pressure reading checked after 10 minutes, during which the technician can be checking the condition of the radiator hose, cab heater, water pump, tank, radiator, core and head gasket for leaks. Then OK the system if the pressure indicates a loss of 1 psi or less. If the technician does not know what is required for each aspect of the checklist, he should verify with the maintenance manager. Once the technician knows the specify of each step of the checklist, he should perform each checks thorough and responsibly. Now let's discuss what is in the PM form. This is basically a form where the technician should note down and should check what's need to be checked and what is not. Now in the PM form, it is extremely important to a success of a maintenance program. This forms provides the technician with an orderly list of items to be checked or inspected, and instruction on those items that should be cleaned, lubricated, tightened, adjusted and replaced. It is the responsibility of the technician to know what must specifically be done at each step of the form. The following is a list on basis of the PM should be carried. Now this is a general list. Sometimes you can find that there is some change in the PM form list, but in generally we perform the PM list like this manner. Number 1, Schedule A is a light inspection. Schedule B is a more detailed check. Schedule C is the detailed inspection, service and adjustment. Schedule D is for the comprehensive inspection and adjustment, and Schedule L is for chassis lubrication. Now let's discuss a general inspection procedure. Both the driver and the technician should perform a pre-trip inspection. There are various steps. In steps 1, observe the general condition of the vehicle. If the vehicle is leaning to one side, there must be a suspension related problem, or improper load distribution, or flat or mismatched tire. Look on the ground under the vehicle for any sign of fluid leaks such as engine coolant or engine oil or maybe transmission fluid. Review the last vehicle inspection report. Note any defects reported by the prior drivers. Inspect the vehicle and confirm that all necessary repairs were performed. In step 2, which is basically engine compartment check. Before checking the engine compartment, ensure that the parking brakes are applied and the wheels are choked. Ensure that there is adequate space in front of the vehicle. Tilt the hood to expose the engine and check the items. Number 1. Coolant level in the radiator or overflow tank. Number 2. Power steering fluid level and condition of the power steering lines. Number 3. Windshield washer fluid level. Number 4. Battery fluid level or indicator for maintenance. Number 6. Inspect all drive blade. Inspect all drive belts for proper tension and wear. Check for any fluid leaks in the engine compartment. This includes fuel, coolant, oil, power steering fluid, hydraulic fluid and battery fluid. In step 3, ensure that the parking brake are applied and that the gear shift is in neutral or in parking. Start the engine. Listen for any unusual sound. Check the dash instrument and gauge for the oil pressure, which should rise up to the operating pressure within second of the engine starting. Number 2. Ammeter or voltmeter should indicate that the alternator is charging the battery once the vehicle started. Number 3. Engine coolant temperature should start to rise gradually up to normal operating temperature. Number 4. Engine oil temperature should start to gradually rise into the normal operating range. Number 5. Wearing indicator for oil, coolant and charging circuit should stop immediately once the engine has started. Inspect the cab interior seat and seat belt. Check windshield and mirror for cracks, cleanliness, stickers or any else that could obstruct the driver's view. Clean and adjust as necessary. Check for excessive play in the steering wheel. Manual steering play should not exceed about 2 inch and power steering play should not exceed about 2 to half inch. Check the following components for looseness or damage. Number 1. Steering wheel. Number 2. Clutch. Number 3. Throttle pedal. Number 4. Brake controls. Number 5. Foot brake. Number 6. Trailer brake. Number 7. Parking brake. Number 8. Transmission control. Then interaxial differential lock, horns, windshield wiper, fan and its control, and last, that is light, including headlight, dimmer switch, turn signal, four-way flashes, etc. In step 4, complete a visual inspection on the steering system for any defects. Keep an eye for missing nut, bolts, cotter pin or other parts. Look for any bent, looses or broke part such as steering column, steering gearbox or tie rod. Perform an inspection of the front brake, paying attention to the lining and make sure that all components are attached and operational. While looking at the lining, check for cracks, missing piece of lining, and if there any wetness, that would be indicate a leak or weeping wheel seal. Check brake line for leaks, damage, as well as brake chamber for cracks. In step 5, defective welds, cracks or breaks in various parts should be inspected. In step 6, there is fuel tank area need to be checked. In case of fuel tank area, check the level of the fuel tank in the tank and complete its to the fuel gauge reading during the cab inspection. Pay attention for any sign of fuel leakage and check the tank should mount securely to the vehicle frame. Check the fuel cap which should be present and seal the tank properly. Look all the electrical connection for the fuel gauge and verify that the fuel crossover line is secure. In step 7, tires, wheels and rim should be checked. Check the drive tire, wheels and rim. Make sure the tire are at the same size and type. Inspect the fifth wheel or the spare wheel. Now let's discuss in general what is called out of service. If a vehicle is out of service, that means there is some major defects are there. Mainly the defects are in brakes and exhaust system or in fuel system and safety system. In brakes, if there is 20% or more damage on the brakes, we call it out of service vehicle. If in parking brake there is no brake applied upon actuation, that is also out of service vehicle. If any safety device is missing from the vehicle, that vehicle should be out of service. In case of exhaust system, if the exhaust is leaking in the driver section or in sleeping compartment, the vehicle should be marked as out of service. In fuel system, if there is any visible fuel leak from the fuel tank or from the fuel line, the vehicle should be marked as out of service. In lighting device, if there is at least one headlight is operative and in the rear side at least one stop light is there, then it is okay. If not, the vehicle should be marked as out of service. Thank you all for watching. Please subscribe to this channel for more videos. Thank you all.